Good evening, Steve. What's going on? Can you hear me? Do I look, am I sideways or how's everything looking on this camera? If you can hear me. I'm gonna wait a while. All right, good. Thanks, Steve. You can share this out within the Mapstoa group. Um, this is a private group, so you're not able to share outside of this group. There's a lot of managers out there. I'm gonna get into something too, very important. But I got a lot of information for you guys, so I hope you guys are ready to learn something a little bit today, because there's a lot of misinformation. It's always been there. It's kind of hard to battle the misinformation, because a lot of times we're charged with being above that. So sometimes information gets out there, and if it's not challenged or answered, it remains the information that you have. And unfortunately, in the day of social media, these are normally the underlying issues, right? Um, my pedigree is very solid. I have 29 years of service, so I've been here since 1994. I came on this job into a contract, right? It was a president by the name of Demazda Seda. So I was here for Demazda Seda. I was here for Willie James. I was here for Roger Toussaint. I was here for John Samuelson. I was here for Tony Utano. And now I'm here for Richard Davis. So now I have a bit of some history, but I want to get into a few things. I don't know if I should just jump right into my agenda, which is essentially about our collective bargaining agreement. Now, somebody got on social media earlier today, and they was like, the union should not be going out pushing a yes vote, because people should be allowed to make up their minds. Now, I agree wholeheartedly that everybody should be allowed to make up their mind. But if the union is not out pushing a yes vote, and the only vote that you see is a no vote, which vote gets influenced? If you can answer that for me, then we will be okay. Now, there's been some dispute along the ways of this particular contract over the health benefit, and the retirees' health benefit in particular. So there's been a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of misinformation. Time and time again, I keep seeing people saying that this new or enhanced benefit is the same as the city's plan, Advantage Healthcare. Now, Advantage Healthcare in the city, they use an HMO, right? We don't. We have two Aetna plans that are nationwide, right? So how is it the same as the city? And I'm kind of surprised at some of our old union reps who are retired and started drinking the Kool-Aid on this, because it's just non-factual, to be honest with you. Just totally non-factual. Not even a little bit of it is true. Not even a little bit of it is true. And that's what's so disturbing about it. Folks that's out here having agendas. All right? I'm not going to get too much into the agendas, because I don't really too much care about what people's agendas is. When we went to the negotiating table, our job was to bring a fair and equitable contract. So, being that our job as being a fair and equitable contract, and by the way, For those of y'all who are asking questions, like David Alvarado, just allow me the latitude of completion, and I'll most definitely get on here and I'll scroll through and I'll answer all your questions. So if you could keep the questions coming, I'll definitely answer them. I just want to kind of go through, something I put together for you guys. And I put it together based on historical facts, right? What I put together is based on historical facts. Nobody told me to put it together. I'm always reading my contract, right? And a lot of you guys who have hard copy versions of our collective bargaining agreement from 2002 all the way up to maybe 2005. I think that's the hard book, and the rest of them are MOUs or MOAs. Now, the one thing that you're not going to see in the hard copy version of our collective bargaining agreement is you're not going to see the year 2009 when we had an arbitration decision. And I really want to focus on that because I've been kind of going back and forth with some folks about the arbitration decision, and I've been called out. I've been called a liar. I've been called the guy who smiles at you and will lie in your face. I invite each and every one of y'all to go onto the TWU Local 100 website, click on About, and let the drop-down window come, and click on Contracts. Go to the 2009 and click on the Arbitration Award for the TA and the OA. And read it carefully. Don't skim through it. Read it. Because the things that I'm getting ready to talk to you about and explain to you is going to be based off that 2009 award. Now, I'm using this 2009 award as a guide, all right? I don't have to go through what our raises are. We all know what the raises are. The raises are by now. What I'm going to discuss with you guys is how basically pattern bargaining works for us, because a lot of the folks seem to, especially our younger folks, and I don't blame them. It's not like we went out here and we taught certain things after 2009. Many of us, such as myself, I've been involved for a very long time, and I was involved in the 2005 strike, right? And a lot of why we went on strike was produced from anger from the membership, anger from the officers, anger at the way the MTA handled business and handled their discipline. And, so a lot of us, for whatever different reasons, we was for the strike. Some of us, different than what the local at the time was projecting at that time. A lot of us was just ready to stick it to the transit authority just because, right? And that's actually a known fact. So what I want to get into is after that 2005 strike, it was kind of like a cooling off period for us. Those of us who was there know. And I want to say one thing to everybody listening. Those senior guys who are around during that time, they are going to tell you that this is one of the best contracts that we've seen, at least in my career. Why? Because of the point that there's no givebacks, right? We've always discovered givebacks in contracts. I'll give you some examples. On the talk around the town, and usually the talk among different circuits, is that Willie James delivered some of the best contracts that we might have seen in our lifetime, right? But when Roger Toussaint became the president of this union, there was a known fact. This is a known fact that the health benefit trust was underfunded, right? So then it begs the question: did we get those raises because the health benefit trust was underfunded? We don't really know. But when Roger came and took the helm and became the president of this union, the big fight and the big anger, why everybody was mad, because everybody had in their mind, and if anybody who's on here that's been around during that time, correct me if I'm wrong. During that time, there was a big anger because they was talking about eliminating our health benefit trust. They were saying it was underfunded, so many of us was going to be without health care, which created many meetings. I mean, we rented places all over the city to be able to engage the membership and basically energize the membership and get them ready for battle over these situations with the healthcare. And Roger came in. We negotiated the contract that we negotiated in 2002. I believe in that year, I think that's the year we gave the health benefit trust to the Transit Authority. Right? That was one of the givebacks we gave. We gave them the health benefit trust, and we got $1,000 bonus in the first year, and we got 2-3% raises in the next 2 years thereafter. A lot of people felt slighted over that $1,000 bonus, but the perception of Roger existed because Roger was seen as the guy who will fight and strike fear in the Transit Authority's heart. Right? Okay. So now, move along to 2005 when we went on strike. We came back. When we went on strike, what ended up happening, and a lot of people need to know this, is that the contract was voted down. Contract was voted down by 7 votes when we finally got the vote on it. So the union at the time went to do a revote because there was some type of fair tactic that was going on out there, and then understandable, believe it or not, like there was many policies and politics going on during those days, and when you get a little older in this company, you kind of understand. I understand why Roger did not want to take that particular contract and have it challenged, right? Because once it got voted down, the MTA was hell bent on going to arbitration, right? So a lot of people, this is going to dispute with some of the arguments. People say, well, you could just go back to the bargaining table. But it's going to take 2 people. It's going to take 2 forces to go back to the bargaining table. Because the first thing that happens is you go to mediation, right? You don't automatically go back to the bargaining table because the other party has got to be willing to bargain. In this case, in 2005, the other party wasn't willing to bargain. They was willing to go to arbitration. So the union had to make the same arguments for whatever we collectively bargained and make those arguments in arbitration. And ultimately, in 2006, we got the same agreement that we negotiated, right? So now, fast forward, and I talked about it like a bit of a cooling off period. So we had a little bit of a cooling off period, and then we came to the 2009 collective bargaining, and we ended up in arbitration. That's just technically 3 years later from the contract that we just got an arbitration decision on. We ended up going back to arbitration. So I referenced the 2009 Arbitration Award because there's a lot of rumors and misinformation on social media, and I really want to kind of like break down what is considered pattern bargaining. In many of my engagements, I reference the 2009 Interest Arbitration Award, and I only reference this as a guide, not necessarily what will happen, but it is a good guide to go by, right? Because it's a reality of how things go in New York City, right? So in 2009 Interest Arbitration Award, it explains how collective bargaining works in New York City. The first thing that's going to be outlined is the background, right? And which is the term of the contract. And during that time in 2009, the term of the contract was based upon the parties' tradition of bargaining for 3-year contracts. So a lot of folks today want to know, well, why did we get 36 months? And why did we bargain for 3 years? Well, that was TW Local 100's and the MTA's tradition. We traditionally bargain for 3-year contracts. During the course of the arbitration in 2009, both parties agreed that the MTA and its bargaining unit are unparalleled, both in size and scope. In 2009, TW Local 100 represented 93 different job titles, falling into categories of transportation, maintenance, and clerical. Okay? We probably have, I don't have the exact number, but I'm pretty sure we represent more than 93 titles now. The things that is looked at is comparability, overall compensation, ability to pay, cost of living, and interest and welfare of the public. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that to let you know how actually this whole thing really works. So let's start off with comparability. Wages, hours, fringe benefits, conditions, and characteristics of employment with those performing similar work in New York City. Right? That's the comparability issue. This is what they're looking at arbitration. Now, we're going to go into overall compensation. Another factor that the panel, and I repeat, for those who coming on new or coming on now, I am referencing the 2009 Arbitration Award. Now, overall compensation. Another factor that the panel considers in reaching its determination was overall compensation paid to employees, including overtime, premium pay, vacations, holidays, and other excused time, insurance, pensions, medical, and hospitalization benefits. Ability to pay is the next item up. And considering the impact of the panel's award on the financial ability of the public employer to pay without raising fares or reducing service. That's one of the things that is considered also. Number 4 is often what you hear the naysayers, and you hear, and it's true. Let's just face it. We all feel that we could have done and want more money. Everybody wants more money. So don't think that we don't want more money. We do. But now let's go into cost of living. That's what we all talk about. And the award of 09, the panel also considers changes in the average consumer prices for goods and services commonly known as the cost of living. They use experts who forecast inflation rates such as the MTA Economic Advisor, Global Insight, Philadelphia Survey of Professional Forecasters, and the Wall Street Journal. All right? Also, moving along, interest and welfare of the public. So when it comes to collective bargaining and when it comes to going into arbitration, believe it or not, but it is true that the arbitrators view the interest and welfare of the public. So you got to go back to seeing ability to pay. Now, without implementation of service reduction or fare increases, the strap hangers campaign also have a say, as they are or was questioned in the proceedings if they had any objections to the arbitrator issuing the raises that he did in that year. Now, number 6 is other factors, and this kind of like drives the point home. And considering such other factors as are normally and customarily considered in the determination of wages, hours, fringe benefits, and other working conditions in collective negotiations or impasse panel proceedings. The panel takes note that the pattern established for union represented employees of New York City at that time included a 4% wage increase per year, compounded. Who are we patterned to during that time? We were patterned to DC 37, the NYPD. We was patterned to COBRA, which is the Correction Officers Benevolent Associations. We was patterned to UFA, which is the United Fire Association, the FDNY, and we was also later the UFT was end up being patterned to the rest of the New York City bargaining people. Now, while the city pattern is not binding on the MTA, so I got to say that the city pattern is not binding on the MTA. The panel recognized that historically the panel recognizes that historically wage increases for the MTA operational employees have generally equaled or exceeded that of DC 37 represented employees. In fact, the city pattern was a subject of discussion between the union and the MTA during the TAOA contract negotiations. These wage increases are consistent with the city pattern and assure that transit workers' wage gains will not fall behind those of municipal workers during this period of time. So now let's fast forward to 2023. We get a contract. I'm not going to go into whose contract is better. I'm obviously going to say that TWU's contract is better. We did a 36-month contract, solid 36. It expired on the 15th, right, of May, and then it's going to be, this contract is going to now be retroactive back to May 16th to 36 months, May 15th. 3-year contract, right? 9.5%, 9.8 when it gets compounded. So the only thing I will say about DC 37 contract has they went 5 years, and then they went 6 months without a wage increase during that time. So by average, even though they got like a 3 1/4 in their last year, the average reduces them down to like 2.16. If I'm correct, I think it was 3 1/4 they got. They could have got 3, but on average, it reduced them down to 2.16. Now, all in all, I have been, when I've been talking to people, I've basically been talking to them how collective bargaining works. Like, people are not so happy with the wages. And my whole objective is just to let you know, and you, so you can make yourself an informed decision, right? And it's very important that you make an informed decision. If you don't like the wages, have an informed decision on how you are patterned to the rest of New York City. All right? It's not like you're not going to vote this contract down and go to arbitration and expect 5 across the board. That's really not how collective bargaining works, and that's not how impasse arbitration works. Now, that's Section 2.9 of the Civil Service Law. Check it out. Everything that I'm telling you or I have said to you about pattern bargaining is well documented in our union archives. It's available for you to see on the TW Local 100 website. So I'm not coming up with brand new information. You can actually read these things for yourself. Now, that's really all I got to say on that particular issue. But I do have other issues that I do find it necessary to speak on before I close. I know people say, going on 8:30. I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. I really wanted to get this messaging out to everybody. But I want to also tell you, there's a policy that's been out there on on social media. It's a social media policy that the MTA has. They reissued it. It's been out there for some time now, and you have to be careful. You TikTokers, you Facebookers, you Instagrammers. You gotta be careful what you're doing when you are in the MTA seat and presenting whatever videos that you're doing, because it doesn't, you don't necessarily, for you to get caught up in the web, it's a serious web you can get caught up in, and for you to get caught up, all you have to do is make the video. Once people start sharing it all over the place, then because you made the video, it can come back to harm you, right? It can definitely come back to harm you. So, and Clarence, my brother, you are so right. Job security. Job security is very important on this job. It's very important on any job, because once you start raising a family, you want to know that your job's going to be here tomorrow. So when you negotiate a contract, you negotiate the wages, you negotiate the benefits, you negotiate how they can come at you when it's time for discipline. Those who work outside of union jobs know that, like a Walmart or something like that, you're an at-will employee. They know what can happen to you if you walk on the ground the wrong way, or if you just roll your eyes the wrong way. You can get fired. Not with a union job. This is why we negotiate work rules and how to apply those work rules across the board. But back to what I was saying about the social media policy. We're going to be sharing that social media policy. I have possession of it, but you got to be careful out there. Like when you're using the MTA's equipment. Like, we had a guy, they created rumors on the guy that are really not true, but because he wears an MTA patch, and it went circulated all over social media, it became problematic. It became something that the MTA put their eyes onto, and are now looking at everybody who is doing something on social media, criticizing the company and sharing it. And while we have a right to criticize, you got to be careful when you're on the clock and then you video and then you making comments about their equipment and their things. We got a union for to battle some of the things that we don't like, and some of the things we don't like that they bring on board. Like, we got these e-cameras that's coming now. There's a big objection against it. We don't necessarily care for it, but they have a right to do a pilot and see if it works. It's up to us. Operate and make sure that you engage yourself in the conversation on whatever surveys they give regarding those issues. Now, we have the bicycle racks on these buses. They're out there. They're going out on the M60. They've been in play for 7 years. What we've done is filed a grievance for safety against them very recently. Sean Battaglia from Division 1 Map Store, and we're going to see what happens. All right? And with that, I'm gonna get off of here now, because I'm not really long-winded. I just like to put the information out there, and then let's talk about it. Even if you're a retiree, you want to ask some questions about the medical benefit, let's talk about it. They're causing a big uproar, but you guys are going to be all right. And I must remind every single one of you retirees out there right now, I'm in my 30th year of service. I completed 29 years May 2nd. I am not agreeing to anything. I'm not voting on anything that's going to harm me and my family. So, with that being said, I'm going to close. I wish everybody well. Have a good night. And I do encourage, I'm not telling you what to do, I encourage a yes vote on this contract. The ballots went out on the 23rd. You need to vote yes on this contract. It's a good contract. From the perspective of us senior guys, we know this is one of the best ones we've seen in a while. We always sit at the negotiating table, and they always issue these demands that are like really crazy and outlandish. And if you want me to, I could repeat some of the demands that they was asking for, because I have it down here. You know, one of the things I'll tell you, one of the things they was asking for was like really, really crazy. But you know, we work for the MTA. What do we expect from them? That's why we have to stay united. Social media stuff, I like it for the fact that I can get and speak to my audience and talk to you guys and let you know information. But the part I don't like it about it is that you got other people who can speak to you also and say things as if they were here forever because they were being fed information. And this job, it just is what it is. It's very, very political here, right? It's very political here, and I need you guys to really, really read for yourself. You know, there's a whole bunch of information out here. Just boom, boom, boom. It's information. But you gotta be able to differentiate on what's the truth and what's not the truth, or what is a partial truth or an exaggeration, right? It serves me no purpose to exaggerate or tell you any lies. It serves me no purpose, right? So let me close with one thing. I'm going to close now, but I'm going to go over what the TW, with the MTA. Sorry, not the TW. What the MTA's demands was. They wanted to reduce our vacation accruals for new employees. We defeated that. They wanted to create a capital program to support initiatives to create a separate unit-wide extra list in the Department of Buses to support shuttle work. We defeated that. Not only did we defeat that, we saw right through that. That's an invitation for disaster. It's an invitation for part-time work. It's an invitation for head count reduction. That's what it was. We saw right through that. They wanted to revise the sick leave accruals and have you earn it as you go. Right now, you get your sick leave May 1st in advance, right? They want to change that to earn as you go. They wanted to eliminate the pick car in the Bronx division and the pick teams in Manhattan division. We defeated that. The big one was the overtime after 40 hours. They wanted to hit us with getting premium pay after we've worked 40 hours of work, right? We currently get paid premium pay overtime after 8 hours. That would have been a big hit. As a matter of fact, NYPD has taken that hit. They've taken that hit through a pilot. They're going to do a 10-hour pilot. Then they get overtime. And then it's going to increase to 12 hours and then overtime. So that's something that we just couldn't deal with. We defeated that. Workers' compensation. They wanted us to amend the waiver in election. Why they wanted it? That was to me stupid. The waiver in election is really your own time. Right? If you get injured on duty, you get paid your sick time while you're out currently. And if your comp gets established, or if you win your comp case at the workers' comp board, your bank that you use gets reimbursed. Simple as that. Our traffic checking jobs, because I represent them too, they have special assignment jobs that was created under Roger Toussaint. So they got 12 bona fide jobs, right? They've been coming after these jobs for a very long time. Matter of fact, I just need everybody here to know how disrespectful traffic check and management is. They were so disrespectful in this round of negotiations that they did not even come to the second round of negotiations. When we refused the deal on them special assignment jobs, they didn't even come back. The managers didn't come back. They just kept the labor relations there. So we just was sitting there basically blowing in the wind. But we know where they at, and we keep as much pressure on traffic check and management as possible, because a lot of our folks down there want to move on, and they want to be able to promote outside of their department. And what they do, and I know a lot of this sounds like BS, but they actually entrap a lot of the traffic checkers and try to prevent their movement. They really do try to prevent their movement. And we're on top of that, but the checkers have to also be aware of this and not let themselves get caught up in that web. All right, this is a conversation that's always mentioned in our division meetings, and we talk about it. Same thing happened with our TPPAs, the security. They didn't want to negotiate on the simplest stuff. And then in the negotiations, they came up with something about what's considered premium posts, or high alert posts. And they wanted the ability to really interfere with a pick and not allow people into those posts if they had like an attendance issue or something like that. Totally ridiculous. We defeated that. We wasn't trying to play that right there. Not with them. Opto, that's on the train side of the house. RTO, that's one person train operator. They wanted Opto. They want to be able to expand Opto, because what happens if you expand Opto? You reduce head counts, right? And then we don't think that it's necessarily safe for you to have Opto. They wanted to increase the cap on swing runs in the Department of Buses. We currently have 70% of our work is straight work, and 30% of our work is swing runs. That's 3-4 hour swings, right? So what happens if you increase the cap? Well, that's another way that they was trying to come at us on head count, right? So these are the things that a seasoned representative such as myself, we see it, and we see it when it comes, and we know what they're trying to do. So you combine the increased cap, then you go after the fact that they wanted the capital program, where they wanted the system-wide excellence to do shuttle work. When you combine all of that stuff, right? When you combine all that stuff, they were looking for a head count. They were looking for a decrease in head counts. That's all it was. And an RTO, just to give a reference, they was trying to do that Monday and Friday thing, where they ended up losing that in arbitration. And the big secret is that myself and President Richard Davis were in that arbitration proceeding at the time, and it was good that we were there, because the MTA did try to lie about certain things about a decision that happened with us in the Department of Buses. So we was there to testify to that fact, when ultimately RTO won their arbitration decision, when they was trying to create like a Tuesday through Thursday and mess their picks up and create a system where they was reporting almost an hour or two later every day, or reporting one day at Bedford Park you was reporting, and another day you was reporting at Parsons Boulevard. So how does that impact families? So we made the argument about that. We won that arbitration. That was a good win. And that's not to take anything away from Canella, because Canella, he threw up a valid fight as well. So it was like two vice presidents and the president helping out in that case, and we won it. We won it, hands down. Bus operator fitness for duty, right? They want it now. Currently, all your operators, if you don't know, if you're on a fitness for duty, you are not required to do anything. You're not required to do trip sheets. You're not required to clean. You're not required to do decks and dashes. So that on occasion, you may have a manager ask you to do it. If you don't know any better, you may do it, but you do not have to. What they try to do is get it in the contract. So if you have fitness for duty, you're sitting on the bench for 3 days, they wanted the ability for you to be able to work while you were sitting. We defeated that. Night differential. All right? There was a big thing about that. But they tried to make changes to the night differential. They tried to change it up on the weekend. They tried to shorten it up during the week. We defeated that. We ain't make no changes to night differential. The arbitration process, as I explained to you guys earlier, it's depending on how the vote goes. If you vote yes, everybody vote yes, contract gets ratified. You vote no, then it becomes a situation where we try to go back to the bargaining table, and then if the MTA is not willing to go back to the bargaining table, then impasse is created, and then we may have to go to mediation. I'm not sure if we would go to mediation, but because mediation don't have no binding effect on us. And then finally, arbitration. And arbitration is what kind of what I've been showing you from the 2009 arbitration. I'm just showing you how the city gets patterned in all the collective unions in New York City, and how we all get patterned together, right? So with that little bit of knowledge, I hope you have all learned something today. And I am very approachable. I will sit down with you and I will take all the time you need to explain something. And not only will I explain it, I will pull out documents. Oh, as a matter of fact, this is what I'm referencing. I don't know if y'all can see, but this is the 2009 Interest Arbitration Award between New York City Transit Authority and Manhattan and Bronx Surface Transit Operating Authority and MTA Bus Company, right, and the Transport Workers Union. So the background is very searchable. This is all pursuant to the provisions contained in Section 2.9.5 of the Civil Service Law. All right, very searchable stuff. Check it out. Let's have a conversation. Everybody be safe. It's time for me to get ready for bed, take a shower, get into bed. Got a very early day tomorrow. One love, everybody. Be safe out there. Remember what I said about the social media policy. One love.